So you're thinking about running, but not sure how to take the first step. My name is Brian Patterson, and I'm here to help. Welcome to Brian's Run Pod. So welcome back to Brian's Run Pod. Now, the final part of my discussion with podcaster Dominic Brown, I started off by asking about his experience in entering his first ultramarathon. If you haven't listened to the first two episodes, then please do have a listen in our back catalogue. I really know that you will enjoy our chat. So you said you did an ultramarathon. What was the distance?
57 miles. It was meant to be 50. The 7 miles at the end was a lovely present that we didn't really expect. To January 2020, Mike, who I spoke about, the head of the running show, and Raccoon, grabbed me at the end of the national running show and said, "Oh, come with me." And I'm, okay, what's going on? Am I in trouble? Took me to a stand, an ultra event stand, and said, "Right, which one are we booking?" I went, "What?" I said, "Well, don't worry, I'll pay the entry, whatever. Which one are we doing?" There was one that was about 3 weeks away, and I said, "No, I'm not doing that." I looked down and went, "Oh, that one's this would have been in January. This one's in November. Let's do that because that's 10 months away. I don't have to worry about it yet." And it was Glasgow to Edinburgh. I'll train from 3 months out. That'll be fine. Yeah, train from that. I'll train from 2 months out. I'll 6 weeks, 4 weeks. Yeah, that's all of a sudden I need to book flights in a hotel, and I'm like 4 weeks away. And I'm scared. I've never done anything past a marathon. I'm not going to be able to do this. All those doubts that will come into cold feet that come into it, whether you're doing any distance race or a new job or a new school, a new university, anything like that, cold feet. And flew up to Edinburgh, met him, and I probably wouldn't have been able to do it without Mike. He's run 100-mile races before and countless 50-mile races, and he's a mentalist machine. I mean that as in he's got a great mentality. He is a little bit mental. Say that himself. But yeah, managed to complete the Glasgow to Edinburgh, which is a beautiful race through GB Ultras, who were amazing. Everyone who ran it was amazing. The people that set it up. I mean, it was deathly flat. It was absolutely flat, which I thought fantastic. Flat ultra marathon, just what you want for your first one. 50 miles, 57 miles. And which was great, but it means that with no incline, you don't know when you're going to walk. You have to really, like, a big part of ultra marathon running is timing your walking to running periods, which weirds people out.
I was going to ask you that, whether did you run that, or was it kind of a mile walking and then running, kind of thing?
There are people that run the whole thing because they're unbelievable athletes. People that run 100 miles without stopping, pretty much, apart from to eat and to go to the loo. The general rule that I've kind of picked up over the last couple of years is that 100-mile races is sort of 50-50 for your average time. And I would say that with the 57 or the 50, we probably ran about 70 to 75% of it and walked about 20-25%. Because the thing that I would have done is, right, I'm going to run the first 15, 20, 25 miles flat and then sort of do it bit by bit. But Mike was slowing me down at 4 miles in and said, "No, we've run 4 miles. We're going to walk the next half mile. We're going to really."
Oh, he was with you.
Yeah. We ran it together, pretty much side by side for the entire 13 hours or 12 hours. I think it took, actually. Managed to not get fired, which was great. Spending 12 hours and with doing a marathon with your CEO, chatting rubbish and eating loads of food. I think there was a checkpoint that was 13-mile checkpoint, the biggest checkpoint between like 33 and 46 miles. Like, really, when you don't want a long stint to be, that I kind of had a bit of a meltdown and went, "This is stupid. Why am I doing this? This is ridiculous." I never wanted to stop, but I was like, "This is stupid." And we sort of yo-yoed each other. We thought we'd had enough speaking with each other.
Okay.
But the key thing that I never would have thought about is, when you are walking, don't just stroll. You walk with purpose. I mean, he's 6 foot 6'12", so 6'5". So his walking pace. I mean, I'm 6'3", but I couldn't keep up with him.
Oh, right, okay.
But yeah, unbelievable experience. And you finish round an actual 400-meter track, And so you run around there, and I did do a video about it, which is on the YouTube, Glasgow to Edinburgh. And I mean, I never thought I'd do a marathon, let alone an ultra marathon.
Is that the Meadowbank Stadium, or is it the?
I'm not entirely sure where it was. It was just on the outskirts of Edinburgh.
Oh, okay, okay.
It was pretty much along the canal all the way from Glasgow to Edinburgh. Yeah, but now I've kind of gone, like I spoke about that glass ceiling of, I never thought I'd be able to do a marathon. Then I've done an ultra. It's like, oh, well, maybe I could do 100 miles. I mean, I'm nowhere near that now, but it's something that is added to the bucket list that I never, ever thought 2.5 years ago, demonizing my 5K, that I'd ever want to do. So yeah, that comes from chatting to the people that I've been able to chat to and fellow community people, and just being able to break through my own mental barriers.
Because I think the TV presenter, the news anchor, Sophie Rayworth, I think she's done quite a few.
Yeah. She's I don't think she's spoken at the show before, but she's definitely a friend of the show, and
yes, yeah, and I think she writes.
She's done lots of challenges.
Yeah, whether she'll appear on Brian's Run Pod is another thing. Yeah,
ask the question. You never know.
Yeah, you never know. That's
sometimes you just ping out loads of emails to people and loads of agents, and it'll come back.
Yeah,
casting and growing a podcast.
Yes, yeah. I can't believe you've done, I don't know, 51 minutes already. So, but what are your goals for this year in terms of running? I mean, are you going to keep up running? Have you got the running bug now?
Oh, 100%. The running bug is well and truly taken over me. But what I try and do now is actually break down my years into different segments, so that I'm not just running flat out or playing sport full out or gymming full out or trying to do all three of them at the same time. Otherwise I'll just burn out. So at the moment, my kind of focus is doing gym work and strength work and playing football and that type of thing. I'm still running once or twice a week just to kind of keep that going. And I kind of want to make sure I do a run every single week. Yeah. And I've kind of been in that mindset since about November. And then when it gets to March, I mean, it really just coincidentally goes with the weather patterns and the temperature. So the gym's inside. And then as soon as it gets to March, I probably step outside a lot more and then go, right, I'm going to look to get a marathon training plan going again, step up the running, step up the fitness, kind of still go to the gym, but use it for more strength work stuff. And the aim for this year is to finally do a marathon event. I'll probably run one on my own first and then look to do an event. The dream is to run London Marathon. Obviously, that's not going to happen this year. I know people have been entering London Marathon for years and years, or fortunate enough or running it for a charity. That would be the ultimate dream. I'm going to go along and support. I have a few running goals. I'd love to do another 50 mile this year. I'd love to get under 20-minute 5K. I'm 12 seconds away from that. Well, it's my best. Little steps for me. I like to do, rather than going, right, I'm going to run 100 miles. And that's just, I'm going to do the little steps that get me there first. And just trying to keep enjoying it. I don't want it to become something that I become bored of, because I've spent the time transitioning into this love for running. And I think it will always stay there, but just finding ways to keep it fresh, fun. I'm going to try and keep trying to get my mum down to park run. She's 16. She does kind of spin sessions every week, and she walks the dogs every day, and she can do it. Oh no, I can't do that. You can. I'm going to drag you down to a park run on a Saturday morning. So that's probably the aim of the first quarter of this year. Let's get it down to a park run. And
do you have quite a few near you, or park runs? Or?
We do. There's one, Guildford Stoke Park, that's great. We've been there as a company before. We work with Parkrun and iPro, who I think work with Parkrun as well, like a drinks company. And I'd love to do more. I've only done about 3 or 4 parkruns, which I'm a massive advocate for parkrun, and a massive, what they do is great. But purely because I play sport most Saturdays, I don't usually go and play a 5K and then go and play 90 minutes of football or a whole day of cricket or whatever. But when I'm not doing that, then I usually do go down to a park run. Was fortunate enough to speak to Brian Fordyce, who was part of who brought parkrun over to South Africa.
Right. I think that's quite popular there, isn't it?
Yeah, massive. Although he told a story once of, for some reason, the radio frequencies or something, however the contact was working, the radio in South Africa had picked up the radio in a park run in the outer skirts of London.
Really?
They had paused the South African park run. I can't remember exactly where it was. I think it was it was somewhere in South Africa, maybe around Joburg, and went, oh, we got to delay it because there's a lion on the route.
Oh no!
This came through to the one in the UK, and they're going, what's going on? It's a really funny story of how that of miscommunication. I'm not sure how. I probably told the story slightly wrong, but the essence is that in London they thought there was a lion on the route, and it's actually just in South Africa. So yeah, park runs more park runs is definitely on the list this year.
There's a funny story I heard. It was just kind of about radio communication. It's to do with, I'm a bit of a Formula One nerd, where David Coulthard was testing at Silverstone, and how they have this like two-way, radio communication with his engineers. And he actually got a taxi firm that had actually somehow interrupted his or mixed in with his radio communication. And they said, oh, can we have to going to Chelmsford, please? Or something like that, and he said that really, exactly. I don't think they'll be able to fit in. Yeah, exactly. So he was going like 180 then, Stowe. So that's just an aside. In terms of, I've got down here podcasting tips. In what have you learned from doing your podcasting? I know I've learned tons doing it, for the past year or so. You've been doing it for a bit longer than mine. So what were the tips about your podcasting journey? You've learned something you've learned along the way.
That's a great question. Asking great questions is a good tip. No, I mean, I've always considered myself to be quite an empathetic person that can get along with all varieties of people, which I think helps. I mean, you did it when we were having a chat before this podcast of just making someone feel comfortable, or presenting them with the questions, or kind of giving them a rough theme of what you want to talk about. Because ultimately, if you are going to have a chat with someone, whether it's an interview or a conversation, whatever, you want them to give the best answers or to have the best conversation. So if you kind of create that if you create a habitat or an environment that's going to foster those conversations, then it's always going to help. I mean, I've done loads of interviews, but I was nervous coming onto this because I've never really been on
the other side,
which is really, really weird, and probably why I've just chatted on for hours and hours. But I think what I've learned over the last couple of years is really getting an idea of what I want to get from the conversation, and how I can, make this person feel comfortable, but how I can maybe I've got half an hour with this person. How am I going to be able to create this story or this piece of content that I think people are going to want to engage with? And like, give the example of Sir Chris Hoy. Again, he's been interviewed X amount of times, X amount of 1,000 times about the same things usually. And it's tough because it's trying to strike the balance of, yes, obviously you want to hear about the Olympics. If I'm tuning in to listen to an episode with Sir Chris Hoy, I expect some level of cycling and Olympics. And I'm thinking, what I'm researching, what can I get from them that maybe is slightly different? We ended up chatting about his cycling now, and how when he, sometimes people are cycling alongside him and look at Chris Hoy and they're trying to challenge him up the hill. And Ray Mears, I thought, I'm going to chat to Ray Mears about wilderness and tips and stuff like that. We spent the first 20 minutes chatting about social media and different generational view between social media and his viewpoint on that. And sometimes conversations come up that you don't plan for. Yeah. I can write down, I kind of have a little thing in front of me of questions and topics and things like that. But I try not to make it right, question one, question two. Sometimes you have to meander with the way the conversation goes. And sometimes I end up talking to someone about something completely different. For Chris Thompson, who's an unbelievable runner, who's the loveliest guy, he's just such a passion for running. Really recommend you to connect with him, Brian. He loves about running and is a very, very talented runner. And we spoke for about an hour and 20 minutes, nothing that I'd planned about, but it was all about the passion for running and the love for running. And sometimes you just got to go with that. Sometimes you've just got to think, instead of going, hold on, I'm going to stop you there, I've got to ask you about this 5K that you did in 2012, of just having a conversation. I always say to people when when we sit down in the Zoom call or sit down in person, I say, this is not like, I don't want this to be an interview. I want it to be as much of a conversation. Now, inherently with a podcast, it's going to be asking questions. It's that type of format. It's more investigative isn't the right word, but it's, it's having a chat with people. But I seem to be doing something right, because people such as Caitlin have been very, very kind, and it's very humbling when people say, "Oh, you're good. You make me feel comfortable. Like you make me, you kind of, I just want to have a chat, and I'm not trying to get anything. I'm not trying to expose something. I'm not trying to get an inside scoop about anything. I'm just trying to make people feel comfortable, have a chat, and hopefully people like to listen to it. Which has been very much my experience here of just having a chat about things that we're both passionate about, that we think people would.
And like I said, at the end of the interview, it was kind of off the end when I finished the interview, and I said to Caitlin, I said, I don't really care what anyone else thinks. I enjoy, I've enjoyed our chat today, and I've enjoyed chatting to other people, sort of thing. And I think, so long as that comes across, it's just like chat with, someone else, human being, or as it were, and you just want to, there are things that will come out of it which you don't expect, sort of thing. It's like, for instance, so the one with Ailish was, how she has a very small team, and how she kind of lacks that self-confidence, and how she wants to be, how that team is very important to her, to help raise her confidence, to help her say, well, you can win at the Commonwealth Games, you can do the 10K sort of thing, because she has some massive boots to fill in terms of her mum was a world champion, and she got a silver at the Olympic Games, which I've forgotten about. So, she said, but also the thing that I gleaned from it was that she said, her mum didn't maybe enjoy as much, that bit about where she left after the sports personality. She's one of the few women to win the sports personality of the year, and then she just left, didn't go to the party, but she's there to do the best she can. And I think that's a lesson for everyone: do the best she can and enjoy her running and everything that it brings to her. So
you said, you covered it there. Ailish was very, very shy, and in fact when she was going around the show, she lovely, absolutely lovely, and was great at the show. But people coming up to her and having conversations and taking photos wasn't something that she had been particularly used to, and it was quite new for her, and she's kind of settling in with that. But unbelievable, like I said, talent, and the support that she said she had from her mother as well. But obviously both seem to be quite shy. But I think, and you said there, just enjoying it, which kind of about what you said about the podcast, is that obviously you've started this from this is you do these conversations for you, which I think is it has to be the most important thing, and the driving point. And that's what I try and do with O&A. Yes, okay, it's connected to the business, but actually I do these interviews because I get very fortunate to have the opportunity to do that. It's my job, but I want to do it for me, and to learn more about these people and to inspire my own life. And then the domino effect of that is that it goes out and we reach more people, and people want to be part of it, and that's where the sponsorship side comes in. But the initial part of it is because I enjoy it and the content's there. So we've gone through the podcasting tips, but
no, it was great. Right, I think we've nearly an hour and 5 minutes, which is great. So
sorry, I'm chatting on.
No, it's been brilliant. Okay, I think we'd sort of like to sort of bring it to an end. And as I said, any tips before we kind of go into where we could get to you? Any tips for people who are kind of sitting on the fence about running, or want to, something that we haven't covered in the podcast, of sort of taking that first step out the door?
I think I could offer practical and logistic advice that you'd be able to find anywhere, or you could get the right shoes, or map it all out, or lay out your clothes the night before and make yourself do it. I think so much of health and fitness and sport and life and stuff like that comes down to mindset and discipline and motivation. And it's like, okay, well, you want to run. Okay, you figured that out. You want to run. Why do you want to run? Is it because you want to lose weight? Is it because you want to get quicker? Is it because you've got a race coming up? Is it because X, Y, Z, you need to get out of the house? You're struggling with your mental well-being or your mental health at this point in time. Don't think about what happens when, I post on Strava, what happens when I post it, or what happens if I can't do it? What happens when other people often have these negative things that come in first? Like I said about, I had said about running the ultra, I think was all the negative things come in first.
Yeah.
If you can train your brain to be disciplined and just take little steps at a time, just don't think about the end goal. Don't think about what could happen, what couldn't happen. Don't worry about things that you can't control or that haven't happened yet. And that's not just running. That's anything with life. Or what happens if I fail this exam? What happens if I do X, Y, Z? First thing, get out the front door, walk to the end of the road. Micro adventures. I think it's Alistair Humphreys. Alistair Humphreys talks about micro, like just get to the end of the road first. And we spoke about this earlier. Boom, one thing ticked off already. Make your bed in the morning, tick, already done before you've even got outside. One positive thing ticked off. Boom, put your shoes on, 2 positive things. Little things. Don't think about, I've run my 5K, 1 big tick. I've put the clothes on, I've done the washing, I've got outside, I've done a little stretch, I've done a little warm up, fine. And if you get to the end of the road and you think, right, at least you've got outside. Forget about the physical elements of it first for it to begin with. Discipline, train your brain to be positive about what you're doing. Be positive about every little thing that you achieve during the day, and you'll find that will come, the running and positives will come after that. So mindset, think about mindset, be positive, believe in yourself, and then all of the benefits that we've spoken about during this podcast of breaking through barriers and achieving things that you won't be able to, never thought you would come from that, and you'll never regret a run. Firmly believe that.
Great. I just want to say thank you really so much for being on the podcast. And we'd like to say as to kind of any links, social media, where people can get.
Yeah, of course. And I return the thanks to you massively. It's great having a fellow podcaster and a fellow running enthusiast to have a chat with. And I apologize for rambling on for ages and ages. It's quite nice to have this kind of chat. Yeah. If you are kind of just starting or want to learn more about running and the outdoors world, then please join and come along. Outside and Active, pretty much YouTube, outsideandactive.com, and you can find the rest of the links from there. Be Outside, Be Active on Instagram, Outside and Active on Facebook. I'm Dom Brown 12 on Instagram in case that's find out a bit more about me, but more about the running and the platform is Outside and Active. And yeah, thank you so much for Brian for this opportunity and for having a chat about the outdoors. And obviously we'll be looking forward to this coming out and sharing it and cross promoting and stuff like that. It would be great.
That's it for another episode, and looking forward to speaking to you next week with some beginner hints and tips about running. I just want to let you know that you can follow me on X, or what was known as Twitter, at Brian's Run Pod. I have just recently set up a Facebook page which is called Brian's Run Pod, and I am on Instagram at Brian's Run Pod. Also, my website is www.briansrunpod.co.uk, where you can get show notes, or on whatever podcasting app you are listening to the show. Plus, all my episodes have chapter markers if you need to get to different segments of the show. Plus, leave a review, as it will help others find this podcast. Music is Happy Day by Stock Audio, not forgetting artwork by Alice Patterson. Till next week, thanks again for listening.